He's like, but if you'd gone to the bathroom, there's some other code or something for some of them. And meanwhile, we have bad actors and we have people doing things that are unbelievable with some of the stuff that I've known and seen in my travels with regard to children and everything else. And this is what I'm doing on the side of the road on a beautiful morning in Virginia on 81. And the other thing I was going to mention, I was driving through reality and I see these lawyer signs and the thing that people I think don't think about sometimes, it's all attached to you. So it's all attached to your your identity, your social security number, driver's license, whatever it is. And I'm coming through, and as you drive, especially around the cities, you see these huge lawyer signs. Have you been in an accident? And it's become so obnoxious now. Some of them are just covered with money. Like it's just, it'll say, we've won billions and billions and billions with, 1-800-LAW, have you been this? And it's just the whole thing. But, people forget when you pass away, it goes into, you go to probate. And believe me, that $30 that if I don't pay it, when I do pass, it's going to get paid, one way or another before any of my heirs. If I go the regular, traditional, non-trust way, all that stuff's going to catch. And that's what happens. I remember my grandmother passed away and she'd had any number of things that, her 6 children, my mom and all my aunts and uncles had forgotten about this and that. And they're all, it's sad what happens sometimes when someone passes, but they're salivating or, I don't know, without saying too much, when someone passes away before people mourn the loss, oftentimes I find they're already counting the money that they may or may not inherit in there. But there's a whole, this is 20 years ago, there's a whole, everyone's worked up because the state was getting theirs first, and that's exactly what happened. And so I know what you mean. And it's just, when you begin to wrap your mind around that they're creating these bonds, like you say, and using your sensitivity trust to then sell it at the back door at 6 p.m. And it goes on and on and on. It's remarkable that this is the reality we live in. I just sometimes I feel like it makes my brain hurt because it's just all so wrong.
Right. But it's all things we've proven over time that exist. How the world runs. They take those bonds out of the back door of the courthouse. They invest it on Wall Street into municipal bond and prison bond funds, and then they fund the municipalities, the counties, and they fund and the average county has 240 private for-profit corporations, and it's got a county treasurer who's sitting there commingling funds out of the CAFR accounts with all those corporations, right down to the dog cat. And that's a felony. I mean, you and I did that, we'd go to the federal prison.
Just let me think. Saturday afternoon, I guess it was, David. I was in Tennessee, in the middle of nowhere. I got a friend of mine. Samantha's there now, staying with them, and just a real good friend of mine who's been, I could count on less than 2 hands the amount of people that kind of. It's just, I'm not trying to be negative, but anyhow. So this guy's been with me since I started doing the hospital videos 4 years ago, and we were driving along, and there's this little baby deer in the middle of the road laying down, and it was Tennessee hot, like you're talking heat stroke. It was hot this last week. So we go pick up this baby deer, and it's shaking, and we brought it back to the house, and Samantha was there. And we were like, what do we do? So someone said goat's milk, but we had some cow's milk. So this little deer's in shock. It's in heat stroke and can't even stand up. It's a tiny little deer. It must have been born late or something. Might weigh 15 pounds. This was just Saturday, 3 days ago. So anyway, it kind of cools off a little bit in this little laundry room. And we get a little, we ran up to the dollar store, got a little bottle, cut the tip off of it, warmed up some cow's milk. I mixed a little water in there. And at first the deer didn't want to do anything. But then all of a sudden it kind of got its appetite back and probably in shock, probably just lost its mother. But it was laying in the asphalt on the middle of the road, David. I mean, it was just, the vultures were already circling, so we picked it up, warmed it up. And then about 4 or 5 hours, they just start sucking down this milk. I mean, just gulp, 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 peeing on the floor, gulp, gulp. And Samantha's there and a couple little ones are there. Trent's daughter's there. And so it just bounces back to life, it's doing pretty well. So then after that happened, we, didn't die. We started reaching out to see what the protocol was. What do we do? But it was a Saturday. Well, anyway, I made a video and put on my Telegram channel. And I thought it was really a cute video of this little deer running around and us giving it some milk and this and that. And the comments on my Telegram channel, David, about you better call the game warden, or I'm going to get a ticket, I'm going to get a fine, or don't do this with it, or don't do that with it, and all this stuff, And I'm like, for God's sake, this deer was on the asphalt, going to die. And we scooped up this little life and we gave it some milk and we put it outside, and hopefully the mother can hear its call. And yes, we'll do the responsible thing. But the amount of people that just have this deep, I don't know how to explain it. The world